Hello, welcome to the Root of All Podcasts. I am Miles Newverth, the definitely more professional type brother.
And I'm Devin Newverth, the less liar of a brother.
He's the
I'm the more
wacky,
honester brother.
He's the wacky one, and I'm the professional one.
Yep, that's me, the goofy wacky brother.
Yeah,
everyone knows that.
Yeah, Devin, we gotta go one episode without talking about cartoons. Try and rein it in this time, Devin.
Bonkers. Fairly Odd Parents.
You didn't even mention Tailspin.
Oh, Tailspin.
I do like this idea of picture a world where our audience can't tell us apart. Maybe they can't. Who knows? We're brothers. That happens.
Yeah.
But because they can't tell us apart yet, I committed to trying to convince them that I was the serious brother. It's like the bit from The Office where Jim comes in dressed as Dwight. Like that would be me, but as you. And in our Skype call, I would have a mustache right now, but the audience wouldn't know that.
They might. Maybe they can hear my mustache in my voice.
It's true.
Can you hear my mustache? It's growing. It's growing for Movember right now. Can you hear it growing?
Little reminder to our the root heads out there, the root bears. That's it. The root bear barrels. That's our fandom.
I don't know about that.
I don't know what any of that was. That brother over there, the Devin brother, is doing Movember still. So if you guys want to donate, we've posted a few links via our Twitter. I say our Twitter. Devin runs it entirely and does a great job with it.
I try.
He's posted some links there, and our Facebook, we've posted some links there. So if you want to donate to Men's Health, if you're curious about more about Movember, you can listen to our last episode and hear all about it.
Yeah, do that. So this episode is going to be about a thing.
Yeah, we're doing it. It's about the original conceit was we were going to talk about Thanksgiving, but it's more we're talking about specifically Thanksgiving traditions or ways people celebrate American Thanksgiving. We're doing this because we've gotten a little heavy in the past, and I say we, I mean brother has being doing podcasts based on more science and history had to talk about some more serious topics, and it's hard to talk about Thanksgiving in the history of it without getting into some heavy stuff, and he should have a break from that. So as opposed to talking about the history of Thanksgiving, which we are aware is sordid and horrible in a lot of ways, we are not ignoring that, but we decided you don't need to hear it from us.
Maybe next year.
Obviously, there's a million sources out there where you can get more info about why the history of Thanksgiving is sordid and horrible. We are going to talk about just some ways people celebrate Thanksgiving for the most part, I believe.
Yeah, a lot of my podcast is about the food of Thanksgiving. So food and traditions is kind of I think what we're going with for Thanksgiving this go around. Great.
Do you want to get started on your podcast? What did you listen to this week?
Sure. I listened to Black and Yellow podcast, which is part of the Zeitgeist network of podcasts. It is hosted by Alana and Jacklyn.
That's a very good podcast network name, Zeitgeist. I love that.
It's pretty cool.
Love a good pun.
So they are, Alana is Black and Jacklyn is Asian. And so they talk about basically what it's like being Black and or Asian women today. But this particular episode is called Not Your Average Turkeyday. It was put out last November 21st, which would be in 2018 if you're listening to this in the future times.
Right.
And it was about 42 minutes long. Basically, they talk about their experiences with Thanksgiving, being Black and Asian, and what kind of foods and traditions they have there. Alana talks a lot about her Thanksgiving and about how in her household turkey is a thing, but it's not the most important thing. They have other foods that are more important, like gumbo and mac and cheese, are apparently very important.
I love some mac and cheese. Big fan personally.
They spent a lot of time throwing shade at mashed potatoes, at pumpkin pie, and especially at green bean casserole.
Ouch! My inner Minnesotan hurts for the damage casserole took in the conversation. But okay.
I don't really remember green bean casserole being a thing.
I mostly remember that the only part I really liked were the crispy onions on top. I could mess up those crispy onions. I would leave the green beans straight up on the plate. But I don't blame and we're Minnesotans, so that was a hot dish. I don't blame the hot dish for that. That was more me having a little small child brain and mouth.
Crispy onions.
Yeah, those were great. Thing is, like, because I mean, as a kid, you have so many more flavor receptors. So which is why, like, a lot of times kids are more picky about food. And, like, the green bean flavor, it was too much and it was a bad. Whereas, like, the onions were a lot of flavor in the good direction. So
I just don't really remember that being an important part of my Thanksgiving.
Sure.
But so I didn't really mind that. But mashed potatoes are something that isn't super complicated, but are, like, it's real easy to make bad mashed potatoes, and not that much harder to make good mashed potatoes. Like, it doesn't take a lot of work to make good ones, but you have to, like, put your mind to it a little bit. You can't just throw butter in potatoes and mash them up.
I know a lot of our audience has heard this anecdote, but should we share the mashed potatoes incident?
Oh, God.
The internet?
That has nothing to do with Thanksgiving.
No, but it does have something to do with mashed potatoes. And we do have this mashed potato incident.
Oh, God.
I'll dive into it for him. So me and brother's obviously 2 years, 2.5, 1.5, somewhere. 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
So we were at times in our childhood left alone. He was obviously in charge, but at times this turned out to be a questionable decision on our parents. We love you very much, parents. But one night, we both loved mashed potatoes. And one night we're like, we can make mashed potatoes. This shouldn't be hard at all. So we decide together we're going to do it. We get the potatoes.
Now, when was this? This had to have been...
It was newest house. So I was probably in 4th or 5th grade. Like Bamber Valley age.
Yeah. So we were... so I was in middle school. I mean, the internet was around, but it was not like... We didn't have phones. We didn't have,
and it was potentially
the computer
locked.
Was probably locked.
Yeah,
so it's not like we could look up how to make mashed potatoes. We just had to try to remember how to make mashed potatoes, and we knew that they had to be mashed and they had milky stuff in them.
Yeah. So we got the potatoes. I think we might have peeled them, and we're like, wait, how do we mash these?
So we tried mashing cold potatoes.
Didn't work. So let's dice it up first. We'll dice them up first. So we cut them into cubes. Still wouldn't dice. We're like, maybe if you add the butter and the milk. So we had a bowl of cubes of potatoes with the butter and milk. We might have tried the blender at some point. I don't remember.
But I think we put some in a blender.
At no point did we think, cook them. No way did we toss them in the microwave. Do we even put these things on the stove? I mean, the stove was not my friend as a child. I didn't really mess with that. It was microwave or bust. But yeah, it was just us with a
sometimes it was both. Sometimes it was microwave and bust.
It was like the worst like bowl of cereal in the world. Just like a bowl with milk and cubes of potato in it. We ended up making a huge mess trying to mash this. Mom and Dad came home, and I'm pretty sure Mom died laughing at us.
Well, the best part is that I'm pretty sure that was one of those times that they called us, like, right before they got home, too. So that we're, like, they like to call us, like, right at the bottom of the hill is what we called it, which was, like, maybe, like, 4 or 5 blocks away.
Yeah.
They would call us and be like, we're almost home! Just to give us like 45 seconds to try to look like we weren't making trouble. And I think we just left it on the counter and ran downstairs.
Oh, man.
So they came home, and we were just like downstairs hanging out, and there was just this nasty mess of milky, sour, creamy, cold, unmashed potatoes.
Oh my god. Dad made really good still makes really good mashed potatoes. And we just wanted some. Is that too much to ask? Yes.
We just wanted some mashed potatoes.
You gotta be smarter than the potatoes, apparently, and we were not on this day.
So...
Alright, so they tore into mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
They
so
tore
they were
into
talking,
casserole.
They were talking about, they were talking smack about mashed potatoes, talking about green bean casserole. We're just talking about how, like, at Black and Asian households, there's, they make sure that they have tons of food and never run out of anything. Jacklyn basically just said for their Thanksgiving, they didn't really have, like, a lot of special foods. They just ate a lot of foods. Like, they just ate a ton of it. Of, like, Asian food, but just a lot of it. And had a bunch of people over. So it wasn't like, you know... so some of the things that they, that Alana was saying, they had at their Thanksgiving that was, you know, separate from, say, our experience growing up, brother.
Sure.
Was that, like I said, mac and cheese. I don't think we ever had mac and cheese at our Thanksgiving growing up.
Yeah.
She talked about about stuffing versus dressing, which the main thing that she said was different was that it was, instead of like white bread, it used cornbread. Okay. Which I've had cornbread stuffing and it's really good, but like she made a big deal about it, so that's a thing.
Fair enough.
I already mentioned gumbo, and that was a whole thing. And she said that instead of rolls, they had monkey bread. Ooh. And they even did like a sweet monkey, like a cinnamon type monkey bread.
Yeah, that's the only monkey bread I've ever had.
Yeah,
I loved that.
There are like a garlic, cheesy, savory type of monkey bread too.
That makes sense.
But yeah, classic cinnamon monkey bread is my memory also.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what she talked about, and what they talked about. It's a really interesting episode of their podcast. It's really cool to kind of peer into other families' traditions and what they eat and how that works for them. So yeah, it was really, really interesting. So I had some fun facts. I had to cart down a little bit just because, like I said, we're sticking to like tradition type stuff versus the darker aspect.
The sordid past of Thanksgiving.
The sordid past.
The real spookiest holiday.
All right, so the first... so this is all from an article on goodhousekeeping.com, written by Taylor Murphy, that just came out November 5th, 2019.
Taylor Murphy?
Sure.
Okay.
The first Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade did not have any balloons.
What? Just floats?
They had floats with puppets on them, and they had animals from the zoo.
What?
Yeah, they had zoo animals.
That's
and
wild.
Puppets, but no balloons. TV dinners were inspired by a Thanksgiving mix-up.
What?
In 1953, a Swanson employee accidentally ordered way too much turkey. 260 tons of turkey, to be precise. So, in order to use up all the turkey before it went bad, there was a Jerry Thomas, who's a salesman for Swanson, took inspiration from airplane food, because at the time they served like meals on airplanes.
Yeah.
And came up with the idea of filling aluminum trays with turkey and, you know, some side dishes and stuff, and getting rid of the turkey that way. And thus, the TV dinner was born. Started. Yeah.
I do like the idea. It didn't occur to me till you said that thing about, like, updating that like, hackneyed, often referenced stand-up joke would be like, what is airplane food? As opposed to, what's the deal with it? Because it just doesn't exist anymore.
Basically, at this point, you get a tiny bag that has some air particles that used to be near peanuts.
Yeah.
And you open the bag and you smell it, and it smells vaguely of mixed nuts, and that's your airline food.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our airline joke.
This is why we're not stand-ups.
That's our obligatory airline food joke. Because everyone who ever tells a joke at some point in life has to tell a joke about airline food.
Yeah.
And we just knocked ours out right now.
Goodness.
So
Woof.
we're done with it. There it was.
I remember we had TV dinners every now and then growing up.
Sure.
What I remember is for some reason I was always excited about it. I don't know why. For some reason, I'm like, yes.
Because you could pick one, and you got to eat your own special thing, and you could pick one with dessert.
Yeah, sometimes they had a dessert.
Yeah.
Which was, that was exciting, you know?
Yeah. Okay, the next fun fact is every year, approximately 46 million turkeys are cooked just for Thanksgiving.
Fair enough. That tracks. What turkeys?
That's a lot of turkeys.
That's all the turkey. It's every turkey. Oh no!
No, they pardon one.
Right.
One, and then they use that one to propagate more turkeys for next year.
All
so
of
that
the
turkey
turkeys.
gets real busy.
Yeah. But like it's
Real
only
busy
one
for the next
turkey,
year.
so it's cloning. Every turkey is always the same turkey. There's only one turkey.
There's only one turkey. It's just like bananas.
Yeah.
Did you know that all bananas are cloned from one banana tree?
I didn't remember that, but as soon as you said it, I realized that I had heard that in the past at some point.
Yeah, it's a truth fact. Here's another truth fact. That big number of turkeys that I just said, that I'm not going to say again, according to the National Turkey Federation, only 88% of Americans eat turkey on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
Which means that there is 12% that are vegetarian or just un-American.
Un-American. Or vegetarian, you know?
I said vegetarian.
Yeah, no,
vegetarian.
I'm just clarifying like that if you do eat meat, but not turkey on Thanksgiving, un-American.
Yeah,
but just not eating meat, that's acceptable. We're accepting of vegetarians.
You can be a vegetarian, that's fine, and still be American. Yeah. But if you do eat meat and don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving, then what's wrong with you?
That's a crime. Yeah, that tracks.
The Butterball Turkey talk line answers almost 100,000 calls every year.
Right.
Because
I forgot this was a thing.
Because people only cook turkey once a year because, you know, to kind of go against what we just said, turkey's not that great. And and it's like they're giant and annoying to cook. And so people don't do it except for most people only cook turkey once a year. So they need help.
Sure.
And in recent years, they actually have a text line that you can text as well.
Nice.
That way if you're socially anxious, you can still get help with your turkey.
Yeah. Whew. I won't be cooking a turkey this year, but
if you did,
I can
text.
Which I'm
so
grateful
you didn't have
for.
to talk to another human.
Yeah.
An estimated 50 million pumpkin pies are eaten on Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Love that. I only eat like half of those. Half of those are exclusively me. So it's good that the's enough pumpkin pies.
25 million pumpkin pies are eaten by non-Miles Newworth.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching something the other day, a YouTube video where someone was making pumpkin pies. Then they made a pepperoni pizza pumpkin pie, where they had their pumpkin pie and then they topped it with tomato sauce, cheese, and pepperoni, and then baked it. And it looked awesome. It looked like a little crime that I would probably have just loved. I would have loved it.
Yeah, that sounds like a crime. I'll agree with that.
I'm a food criminal, though. That's how I roll.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Food criminal.
Perfect.
There we go. Now we're bankrupt because we can never afford even those few notes. We will be sued to death.
Sued unto death.
Yes. Black Friday is the busiest day of the year for plumbers.
Really?
Yes.
You think they give Black Friday specials on their prices?
I don't think there's a lot of Black Friday plumber deals.
Probably not. I would upcharge.
The article said basically because people have so many people over and there's so much food. There's not all of it is toilet crimes.
Right, but some of it is definitely toilet crimes.
Some of it is toilet crimes, but
for sure.
But there's a website I don't remember from the article. Read the article. I'll post a link to the article in the description. It's not all toilet crimes. Some of it is garbage disposal crimes also. Because people are at houses that they aren't, they're only at once or twice a year, and so they go to put stuff down the disposal that maybe shouldn't go down the disposal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So sometimes it's garbage disposal crimes. Over 32 million people begin Black Friday shopping on Thanksgiving.
Interesting. I don't even begin Black Friday shopping on Black Friday.
I just want to say that 31 million of those, as they're checking out at the store on Thanksgiving, will comment to the cashier, "I can't believe you guys are open on Thanksgiving. That's ridiculous. They shouldn't make you guys work on Thanksgiving."
Yep. I blame late stage capitalism.
I just think it's hilarious when literally, because I used to work a lot of retail, you would literally hear people that are shopping on that day be like, "I couldn't believe you guys are open."
So you're here,
well, you guys shouldn't be open. You're here. That's why we're open.
Yeah.
Don't be here if you don't think we should be open.
Yeah. If money talks, if everyone in the country decided not to spend money on Thanksgiving, stores would close on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be cost
effective.
Their only goal is to make money. If they did not make money from being open on Thanksgiving, they wouldn't do it.
Yep.
That's it, 100%. So why don't I go ahead and I'm going to give my podcast contact information. We can talk a little bit about our Thanksgiving growing up and what we used to do, and then you can get into your podcast.
All right.
So I've got, like I said, Black and Yellow Podcast. They're on Instagram at Black and Yellow Podcast, and then they have their own accounts as well, which will be in our description because I don't even want to try to say their last names because I will say them wrong.
Yeah.
But they'll be in the description, and I could not find a Twitter for the podcast, but they do have an Instagram, so check that out. So, our Thanksgiving, growing up, we had the same one, because, we're brothers, and, so, Thanksgiving, was that one of the ones we would go to Grandma's house? When we were younger, we would always go to Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Like Mom's side, yeah?
Yeah, in Austin, Minnesota, which was like an hour away.
That was fun because they had a house with a basement that we could run around.
Yeah, we would just go play in the basement. They had a Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, and we would play that some.
I remember being so baffled as to how Duck Hunt worked. Because, I had enough of an understanding of electronics to be like, there's no sensors. How does it know where the gun is pointing? And it wasn't until I was a whole adult that I actually found out how it worked, and it's actually really cool. Are you familiar with how the light guns on the NES worked?
No.
Basically, there's a small camera inside of the gun. And when you pulled the trigger, it would do a screen flash like a muzzle flare?
Yeah.
The whole screen would flash white, except for the ducks would flash black. So when it pulled the trigger, if the camera on the gun was pointing at black, or whatever color each duck was, it would know that you hit the duck.
Huh.
Right?
Cool.
That's clever, right? Those Nintendo guys.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. I got neither of us were ever particularly good at video games. So we would play Mario and I would play and do very bad and you would play and do better. And I was like, oh, Devin's good at video games. And now that I know what people who are good at video games can do at Mario, I'm like, oh man, we both just sucked, huh?
Yeah.
It's there's so many levels of Mario I've never seen. I just never saw because I wasn't powerful enough.
Well, and some of it's patience, and some of it's the fact that we didn't have a working NES for very and so you didn't have time to get good at those games.
Yeah,
And those early games were made kind of like arcade style, and especially if you're having to take turns, there's only so much playtime you get.
Yeah. And like I was on the younger end, so I had like a dumb brain that was less coordinated. But like even now with my like fully coordinated adult brain, I'm not very good at video games. Way better than I was as a kid, but still not very good. Something feels so very Thanksgiving, and I know it's just because it was my Thanksgiving, but like classic games like the NES system just remind me of Thanksgiving, and that's mostly just because that's when we got to play them.
Yeah, we got to play. It was mostly Mario that we would play. I think they had Q*bert.
No, we had Q*bert. I hate Q*bert for this reason. So for a while we had the NES. And we had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that I loved. It was my favorite game. It was multiplayer at the same time. We could both play at the same time. And after like a week, it broke. And Dad's like, all right, I'll see if I can get a new one. He takes to the store, can't find it. What game does he bring back? Q*bert. I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to play Q*bert. I had a directional pad that went up, down, left, right. Every screen on Q*bert was set on diagonals. And I could not remember if going down to the right was the down button or the right button. I died every time I played this game. I hated it. It was my least favorite game in the world.
It was a little weird because all the directions were angular.
There are people who love
offset by 45 degrees.
And I feel like if I hadn't had to trade this game I idolized because I only got to play it for a week, if I didn't have to trade this idolized game for it, I might not hate Q*bert, but I do.
You hate it.
I see the cabinet at Barcade sometimes. I'm like, Q*bert, I hate you. I hate you, Q*bert.
Oh man. But yeah, so I mean,
what were our foods? What did we eat? Deviled eggs. I always made Grandma make deviled eggs because I love them.
She always made deviled eggs. She would always, for me and Dad, she would always leave a few non-deviled eggs that she just made hard boiled and cut for us because me and Dad didn't like didn't like deviled eggs. So she would leave like 2 eggs alone, regular style, and everyone else liked deviled eggs. So she always made those.
Especially me and Aunt Amy, we would fight over the deviled eggs.
We would always have eggs. We obviously turkey, the driest turkey anyone's ever had on the planet.
That's why you needed mashed potatoes and gravy. It was to eat in the same spoonful as the turkey to make it palatable.
Well, and then it got to a point where Dad would bring mashed potatoes because Grandma's mashed potatoes were just literally cooked potatoes that she mashed and maybe put butter in, maybe. But mostly like butter on the side. Like if you want butter in your mashed potatoes, you can put some in there. Yeah. So Dad started bringing potatoes. We usually would have pecan pie because Mom loved that. So it was like a lot of this is stuff that we would have would be like one person liked a thing, and so that thing would get made.
Was it Watergate salad?
Yes, Watergate salad.
Which is the least salad in the world.
No, there's a lot of salads like it.
I've heard a similar salad referred to as Snicker salad, so the kids at home might know what that is.
No, yeah, but that's a different thing. So Watergate salad, just so everyone at home knows what we're talking about, you take pistachio pudding mix and just put it, you mix it up with pineapple, crushed pineapple, with the juice, and then whipped cream, and mini marshmallows, and nuts of some kind, like pecans is my preference. And you just mix that all together, and it is green and delicious and ridiculous.
Not at all a salad. It's the most like
it's kind of a fruit salad.
Mom thing I've ever. I mean, it's green like a salad.
It's green like a salad and has fruit in it. Snicker salad doesn't have fruit. So I would say that
as an adult, I could no longer palate this Watergate salad, I believe. But
I love Watergate salad. I still make it some years, or I make Hannah make it.
The thing I'll makes from Thanksgiving is deviled eggs. Like whenever, like the thing that makes my New York Thanksgivings a Thanksgiving is I have made deviled eggs.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, I guess. You you could make those anytime.
They're I do not sometimes, that hard. But like
you're like, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Even though it's July.
Make some of the box stuffing. Box stuffing is way better than it has any right to be. coming from a box.
Go eat some deviled eggs and stare down Cubert and think of Thanksgiving.
Yep. All right, so I should probably talk about my show, huh?
Yeah, go ahead and do that thing.
All right, so my podcast is not about Thanksgiving traditions. My podcast is my favorite modern Thanksgiving tradition. To give a little history on this, this podcast is a collaborative effort from two players in the podcasting game. On the one hand, you have Tim and Guy, who are New Zealand-based podcasters. They have a podcast called The Worst Idea of All Time. If you're familiar with it, then you know. If you're not, The Worst Idea of All Time is they basically, every season, so about a year, they will spend every week, once a week, they will rewatch a movie and talk about it. So their first season of The Worst Idea of All Time was, I think, Grown Ups 2. Every week they watched Grown Ups 2 and reviewed it for whatever, 50 to 59 weeks, whatever it was.
God.
Their second season was Sex and the City. Every week they would watch this. And so apparently what happens, I've actually not watched The Worst Idea of All Time, but apparently what happens is at some point, like, I mean, even on your second time watching and talking about a movie, you start to look for like these little things that you enjoyed, or they'll apparently like build up lore on these background characters, and it just becomes this odd thing. But I haven't listened to the podcast, but I've heard good things about it. The other player in this collaborative supergroup podcast that I'm going to be talking about is the McElroy brothers. Griffin, Travis, and Justin McElroy. The three people who got me into podcasts, honestly. They've together, their flagship podcast is My Brother and Me, an advice show for the modern era. The three of them with their dad do a podcast called The Adventure Zone, which is a D&D actual play podcast that I'm a big fan of. And
I just started listening to that one.
The Adventure Zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you start with the beginning, or did you start?
I started at the beginning. Well,
good.
So since July I started listening to Mabim Bam. Like, right. I started in this July, which was a few months ago, and have now caught up with My Brother and Me since July, which is almost 500 episodes at this point. Yeah, just shy of 500 episodes. And when they first came out with the idea for Adventure Zone, they put the first episode in the RSS feed for My Brother and Me.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be a little one-off throwaway thing where they just played D&D once with their dad. But people loved it.
Yeah, people loved it. And some people loved it, and some people just wanted advice for the modern era. So they made its own RSS feed, and it's really funny. It's a lot of the humor is definitely very similar, and you can definitely hear from their dad where they got their sense of humor.
Yes. Especially Travis. I think Travis is such a little Clint McElroy. Like,
but so if you especially now that I'm caught up on My Brother and Me, and there's no more of that, it's nice to get some of the similar humor, but with like an actual story baked in with Adventure Zone.
And that story goes some places. I'm excited to talk to you later about the Adventure Zone. But yeah, no. So the McElroy brothers and Tim and Guy from The Worst Idea of All Time got together to do what they call an eternal podcast. It will last forever. When one of them dies, someone needs to take their place. And what this podcast is called is Till Death Do Us Blart. And this is a Thanksgiving tradition because it's released once a year, every year on American Thanksgiving. And what Till Death Do Us Blart is these five people once a year will watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 and talk about it. So
I have a question before you get any further. How many of them have watched Paul Blart Mall Cop 1?
So in the episode I re-listened to, because I'd already heard all of these episodes. There are only 5 at the moment. I had already heard them all. But on the first episode, none of them. I think in a later year, I think Travis decides to get crazy with it and finally watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 1. I think, you got to mix it up. I have seen Paul Blart Mall Cop 1. I have not seen Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. I have, however, listened to five separate podcasts about it. And what I will do, what my Thanksgiving tradition is leading up to Thanksgiving, I will re-binge all of the episodes of this podcast, and then I will listen to the new one on Thanksgiving.
Fantastic. So you just hear them, how their opinions have varied over the year, because that's with how the Worst Idea of All Time works. Every week they're listening to it, and so I feel like it's a different experience of watching a movie every week. Like, you're gonna really pick up the nuanced stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, watching a movie once a year, there's gonna be bits where every time you watch it, you're gonna go like, oh, I forgot about that, or whereas watching it every week, you're not gonna get that. And so, like, it's definitely a different experience, and, like, you have more time between to, like, forget things and to have your opinions change, and so that's interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I love this. I love this podcast, and like, what's great is because these are five exceedingly funny individuals. But for the first episode, the one I listened to prepare for this podcast, they start off talking a little bit about Paul Blart, and they go through the plot for the most part. They'll like give a synopsis and they'll hit on certain things, but they all handled it. They all handled the viewing experience in different ways. Griffin was ill during it, so his experience was broken up several times for him because he had to run to the restroom, because that's just part of his brand at this point.
Well, someone who hasn't listened to a McElroy Brothers thing before might not know. Griffin is part of Griffin's brand is that he has IBS, and I think it's McElroy canon at this point that I don't know that he's capable of going more than about half an hour without going to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, so he whereas Travis wrote down every joke that actually made him laugh, and there were 11 throughout the film, which is actually not a great batting average for an hour and a half long comedy. But Griffin was ashamed of him for laughing 11 times.
That's not a great batting average, but also that's 11 too many times.
Yeah. So there was, and like even Griffin will admit there's. So it's delightful because the way they will like latch on to the bits they did find funny are very good. I do like they like right off the bat they start positing these theories about Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 in a way that after the first episode they had changed the Paul Blart Wikipedia forever. But apparently, spoilers, the first like 5 minutes of this movie is just like a series of terrible things happening to the Blart. To the point where Griffin posits that maybe there is a shadow man of some sort pulling the strings to like make his life miserable as some sort of experiment. And now reference to that shadow man can be found in the
Wikipedia page?
Paul Blart Wikipedia, because that's how the internet works.
Good. You never know with Wikipedia what they're going to edit out, and I guess not that.
No, apparently not. I mean, who's really checking the Paul Blart? The only people checking the Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 Wikipedia are fans of the show. Like, that's the only people who care about this film at this point are fans of the show. Like, not even Kevin James cares about this movie anymore, I'm certain.
Honestly, this show might, just because it reminds Kevin James that he made that film, like, this podcast may ruin every Thanksgiving for Kevin James for all eternity.
I doubt
because every Thanksgiving, well, it depends.
He's
possible. At a point where he may have like a Google alert set up for his name, and sure. I bet it comes up every Thanksgiving that there's a new episode of Till Death Do Us Blart.
Sure.
Reminding him that he did that thing and then said, one more again.
One more again.
Let's do that one another time.
Yes, please. They end up positing some wild theories about this film in regards to...
So the episode you listened to is the first time
episode,
that they had watched it?
Yeah. And so, like, spoilers on later episodes. I think year 2, like Griffin decides to mix it up by lining up the film with Dark Side of the Moon, just to see how that works. And so they have fun with it as the years go on. But
good.
But yeah, within the first year, they're already positing theories about like immortality and like spirits, and like it's all just wild. But but they haven't. It's a full like hour and a half long podcast, or hour and change depending on the year, which is I don't know. I think just enough time for 5 people to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
I think one of the years they should just do a commentary track that like lines up with Paul. Then I would have to watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, so that might be unacceptable. One of these years,
honestly, I think the commentary track might be better to to not watch the movie to just hear them reacting to it live, like hear them reacting live to a movie that you still are not watching.
Yeah, to PBT as they start to call it. But yeah, it's something about this ludicrous idea executed by these 5 just brilliantly hilarious people really brightens up my Thanksgiving. And like I have a lot of fun on Thanksgivings for the most part. Recently this year I will be going, and I have gone in the past, to my fiance's family's place for Thanksgiving, and she has like this wonderful, large, like really like fun family. So we have a lot of fun there. But like I still always look forward to taking some Miles time and sitting down with
and Blart
Till Death Do Us Blart. Yeah. So if y'all are looking for something to do on Thanksgiving, I highly recommend this podcast.
Yeah. So I do want to take this third opportunity that you've now given me on the podcast to say congratulations, brother, on your engagement. Now that you've, I realized as I was editing last episode that you had basically mentioned it twice, and both times I was like, yeah.
Fair enough.
So congratulations, to you and Ame both.
Thank you.
Officially on. Publicly for our 12 listeners.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're excited, and we're nowhere near actual getting married at this point. It's such a huge process, but I'm very glad to be engaged, and it was just the best night of my life. So yeah.
Anyways, back to Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
so that's one thing you could do for Thanksgiving. I wanted to so we talked about our Thanksgiving as kids. We talked about our episodes. I just wanted to really quickly talk about adult Thanksgiving a little bit, because for the last 10 years or so almost, there are many years that we're not at the same Thanksgiving anymore.
Yeah.
And so because you're in New York, and Mom and Dad were here in North Carolina, and I was still in Minnesota, so a lot of times we would still go and do Thanksgiving. We would still go to Thanksgiving at Grandma and Grandpa's house.
Sure.
And eat very dry turkey and awkwardly watch the Game Show Network, and that was that. One year we did that, and we didn't do much for Thanksgiving on our own, but what we did do was the following Sunday. I want to say the Sunday after Thanksgiving. It was what year did episode 7 of Star Wars come out? Just a couple few years 16? Ago.
I don't know.
Just a couple few years ago, we did a watch through of every Star Wars movie that had come out at the time, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. But instead of having, because I've always wanted to kind of do a big Thanksgiving get together of friends and stuff, but everyone, being that we were in Rochester still, everyone that's in Rochester has family in Rochester still, so they couldn't really do that. And so Hannah and I decided we were going to do, we watched all 6 Star Wars movies that were out at the time.
Did y'all do 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6?
We did, it's 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6.
Right.
It's not quite the machete order. We can just the machete order cuts out episode 1 because apparently it's not the necessary for storyline really.
Whatever.
But
kids these days.
but I like it. I'd like it in the order of 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6. Especially because we had 2 people that were coming that had never seen Star Wars before.
Yeah.
And if you're introducing someone to Star Wars, the best order to watch it in is 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, because you don't spoil you. Each trilogy has its own like reveals as time goes on, and by watching them in 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, you don't spoil those moments. You still get the big reveals without spoiling anything, which is really cool. But so we had a bunch of people. We had we watched. It was 15 hours of movies.
Yeah.
And had like big, just tons of food all day, and it was a blast. And that was kind of like our instead of Thanksgiving that year.
I remember seeing that being posted on Facebook and being upset I couldn't go. It looked like a lot of fun, so
it was a blast. We had like Star Wars Monopoly and stuff too, just because trying to sit still and just watch 15 hours worth of movies was not ever going to happen for anyone.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sitting quietly. So there was like quiet games and stuff being played and stuff throughout too. So it was fun. So that's kind of the biggest, funnest thing that I've done as an adult for Thanksgiving. What have you done for your adult Thanksgivings, brother?
Honestly, for a while, when I could go back to North Carolina, I would. There was like a few years that I stayed here and had like small get-togethers with people who couldn't go home. And then I went to see Ame's family, and that was a delight. It was my first time meeting a lot of them. I'm pretty sure I went to Thanksgiving before I went to Christmas. There were 2 separate years, but I think it was in that order. And it was just a lot of fun. Like some parts of it, like the energy level, remind me of like early holidays with Dad's family. Yeah, but more space.
Yeah.
But like that like higher energy, the way the way Graham used to bring it. So like I think it's really nice. So I'm really glad I'm going to be going again this year.
Oh yeah, we really only talked about one childhood Thanksgiving. We definitely used to do 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were definitely very different.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice. So I mean, this is good. People got to hear a little bit about was it not your average turkey day?
Yes.
And then they also got to hear about a very average turkey day from us.
Yeah.
So it's good. They get the whole spectrum here. We should throw it on over the algorithm and get these people some recommendations on who should listen to what podcast.
Let's.
All right, I'll just put in the info right now. All right. Okay, I'm getting some results printed. All right, Till Death Do Us Blart looks to be recommended for anyone who has nothing to do on Thanksgiving. If you are away from family and just want to have like an hour and change of laughs and listening to these great jokesmiths, you can. And at this point, you can binge all of them. Fill your whole Thanksgiving day with these 5 mad lads. It's also recommended for people who like bad film podcasts. If you're a fan of either the McElroy brothers or The Worst Idea of All Time, check out Till Death Do Us Blart. If you like podcasts like The Flophouse, if you like MST3K, if you're interested in people like lampooning, but like in a generally not entirely just like the cynical way, films, then check out Till Death Do Us Blart.
Yeah, very cool. So my readout here says that Not Your Average Turkey Day from Black and Yellow Podcast is recommended just for anyone who is curious about how other people spend their holidays. Anyone who... It says it's recommended for anyone who does not have a thin skin when it comes to, having some of your traditional foods harped on. And also, another recommendation is forthcoming.
Yeah, Purge is running a little slow today. Let's
hold on. It cut off in the middle here. Hold on. All right. It says that it is recommended for just anyone who is interested in just getting another perspective on Thanksgiving.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you, brother, for doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Thanks, mom and dad, for the things they do. Thanks to my beautiful fiance, Ame. And thank you to viewers like you. You can find us on Twitter at
Root of Pod.
At Root of Pod. You can find me on Twitter at MilesN005. As well as check out some of my other stuff online. Look for the Natural Ones on Twitch or on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. That's my D&D group. We stream fun, cool world-building, role-play heavy Dungeons & Dragons. Check out my streams on Wednesdays. Generally Wednesdays 5 to 6. It's not always super consistent just because scheduling, but generally Wednesdays 5 to 6. Twisted Reality AR VR. I'm streaming virtual reality games. So come check them out.
Yeah, very cool. Definitely the links that I will have posted for our podcast are for Podchaser. I like that because you can listen with Apple and Google apps from that link, so I only have to share the one link. Please follow, review us on Podchaser, on the Apple one also. Do all the happy internet things. Share, tell all your friends that they have to listen to this podcast, and tell your enemies too. Just tell everyone. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell Randy Gonzalez, tell everyone.
Yep. All right. Thanks for stopping by. I love you, brother.
Love you, brother.